Julius Randle is pushing hard to return to the New York Knicks, and we have to talk about it. So what's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here, and let's break this thing down and jump right into it as we always do, because according to Fred Katz, Julius Randle is pushing very hard to return to the New York Knicks. As we can see here, what Katz had to say is behind the scenes, Randle is pushing hard to return. His pain tolerance is without question insane, as one person close to him recently described it, but he's human. Maybe Randle can fight through this anguish, but maybe fighting through it still affects him. So obviously what we see there kind of is in line with the only news that we've ever seen, is that Julius probably isn't fully okay. And he's not going to come back to the Knicks and be 100% this season. He definitely has some damage in that shoulder. Let's just be honest about it. That's we just have to admit that, because there's no way that he would be out for this long and we would hear absolutely nothing about Julius. We've heard very little throughout these 2 months since his injury, where he dislocated his right shoulder on January 27th when Jaime Jaquez kind of cut him off weirdly. Randle goes down, and we hardly have heard anything since then. We didn't know if it was a minor dislocation, a major dislocation. We have heard that from the MRI, it seems as if there was not too much structural damage, which is a good sign. But here's the deal. There is a chance, because if there was no structural damage, the only reason that he has not started playing now is because his shoulder is not stable. And if his shoulder is not stable, it means he's at he's very likely to basically dislocate his shoulder again and again and again and again, unless he gets it fixed, where it can kind of be put back into a place where it essentially won't keep popping out. And then he should be fine and everything should be okay. The problem is that requires surgery, and that would absolutely end Julius's season. And it's very clear to all Knicks fans that Julius refuses to get season-ending surgery, even if he needs it. We saw it last year. There was a ton of hate that Randle got in the playoffs last season because he was playing on a destroyed ankle. There was a few times throughout the playoffs where he was just running and his ankle literally just caved in on him, and the man would just get up and keep pushing. I understand that he didn't play very well in the playoffs, but that is the reason why. He was not healthy. He wasn't even close to healthy. He shouldn't have been on the court, but he was anyway, because that's the kind of guy who Julius Randle is. And at some points, it's like, all right, well, we love that he has that mentality, but on the other side of it, we're probably not going to win the NBA Finals this season anyway with Julius fully healthy. So is it the worst thing in the world if Julius Randle misses the rest of this season and the Knicks can go into the playoffs and see what they need to do in the offseason to make this team a true NBA Finals contender? That's kind of the question that we have to ask ourselves. Is Julius going to be harmfully affected by playing through this shoulder dislocation? And honestly, of what I know about dislocations, which I have unfortunately dealt with enough in my life, it's not something that's going to instantly affect you. Many of you may know who NFL quarterback Drew Brees is. He dislocated his right shoulder, same as Julius, and that was his dominant arm. That's the arm that he threw the football with. It's what made him have some of the most passing yards in NFL history. Now, all this time later, Drew is in his 40s. He's been retired from the NFL for a few years now. He now has arthritis in that shoulder because he didn't get it fixed properly because he wanted to play through it. That is a risk that Julius seems like he's willing to take. He's willing to deal with the problems later once he's retired and be like, oh, well, guess this shoulder's not that good anymore. Oh, well, I had to do what I had to do to win. And it seems like Julius might just be perfectly okay with that. It's kind of the mindset that we see. Julius has that kind of Mamba mentality where he is willing to just absolutely damn near kill himself to play good basketball and to be on the court for his team. And that is something that we have to commend as Knicks fans, because to get a guy who brings in that hard hat, blue collar, I'm going to grind this out mindset is always awesome to see. And that is absolutely Julius Randle. It's also Brunson and Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo and Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein and all of them, honestly, and Tibbs. Like, it's all of them. This team has that identity to them where they're just ruthless. They're going to beat you over the head with the metal bats. They are just a rough and tough team, and that includes playing through injuries. Now, it seems like Julius is trying to do this, but them mentioning that his pain tolerance is insane is clearly a sign that his shoulder's not okay and that he is going to need shoulder surgery over the offseason. I would rather Julius get surgery now and miss the playoffs, and I love Julius Randle. I'm an outright Julius Randle major supporter. I'd rather him get the surgery now and have him unaffected next season than have him play in the playoffs this year hindered, because he's not going to be his best self, and already there, we're not going to win the finals as it is unless Julius was his absolutely best self this season, because we need him and Brunson to do a bulk of the offense, especially when it comes to scoring. And I don't know if we're going to get that. So with that being said, would it be the worst idea and to just let him get the surgery now and be fully healthy all of next year? Because if we look at it, it's like, okay, well, yeah, we might lose in the first round. If not, we'll lose in the second round. That's a bummer. But at the same time, we'll get to see a lot from the other guys. We'll get to still see what the New York Knicks need because we know what Julius brings to the table, so that's not a concern. The problem is we need to know what else the New York Knicks need, and they're only going to learn that in the NBA playoffs. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's shot creation. I don't think the Knicks have enough even with Julius on the team. They're just short on it. They were short on it when they had RJ and IQ, and they were the third and fourth best shot creator on the Knicks. Now both of them are gone for OG Anunoby, who obviously that was the right move, but at the same time it has hindered the shot creation, as in-season trades always hinder something no matter what happens, and that's what happened with the Knicks. But if we also just look at Julius, we've gotten only good signs that he is going to come back still. Like, for instance, Ian Begley basically said, I've heard during this period that there's been some positive progression here during the rehab, and I think that's left people with even more reason to be optimistic that Randle will be back at some point this season. I don't know if they're out of the woods yet, but certainly the progress that he's made over the last couple of weeks during his rehab stretch have left people excited and the possibility of him coming back. Then, as we also know, Julius is an absolute stud on offense. This season, he's averaging 24 points per game, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists, while shooting 47% from the field and 31% from three. And as I always mention, when it comes down to this, his stats were going up throughout the season because he started slowly. He was dealing with the ankle problem. And now it sucks. He's dealing with the shoulder problem. We got like 3 good months of Julius this season. He's a fun player to watch. That sucks. But I'd rather the problem get fixed now and have it not linger the way that it did this season, because then he got injured again. And I'm not saying they're connected. That shoulder one was a freak injury like most dislocations are. But still, it sucks, dude. And if we look here, as SNY reported last week, there was some internal concern regarding the idea that Randle hadn't yet been cleared for contact. That wasn't the case as of last week's Kings game. Julius Randle has also been able to do everything else on the court as he's trying to play through the dislocation. And Begley mentioned that 3 people he spoke to who are familiar with the situation expressed confidence that Randle would ultimately return to the court. So that's a good sign. Again, we're hearing that Randle's going to return. The problem is we don't know when. And if we don't know when, it means they don't know when. Most likely, I don't think the Knicks have a great idea on when Julius is going to come back. They're probably taking it day to day, week to week, just trying to see how Julius is, what the deal is with his shoulder. They're probably working so closely with the medical team. Because again, outside of him just being one of the best players in the Knicks gave him a lot of money. They don't want to waste that money. So they really want to make sure that Julius is his best self. And that's very important. And we know that the Knicks need Julius Randle to be his best self. They're 12-11 without him and only average 104.9 points per game this season when he's not playing. Now, the Knicks obviously don't average a ton of points per game anyway. They're at 111 on the season, which is like the 7th lowest in the league because they play at the 30th pace. They have the slowest pace in the NBA, but also here's the bad thing. The Memphis Grizzlies average the fewest points in the NBA at 106. So without Julius Randle, the Knicks are the lowest in the NBA in points per game. We need Julius back, or we're just not going to be that good. That's really the whole story. Like, there's no other way to put it. They're just not going to be that good if they don't have Julius Randle. They're not going to be a true contender if they don't have Randle. As much as it's going to help when Mitch is back and OG is completely healthy, it's not going to be the same thing. So hopefully Randle gets back very soon, because if he doesn't, the Knicks are going to be in some trouble. But it's more important that Randle comes back and he plays healthy than he plays injured, because then we'll just get a worse version of Julius with lingering injury like what happened last year. Comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Like this video, do all that good stuff. Believe it or not, it actually really does help. Knicks Digest, I'm not lying to you. But also, I'm really tired and I need some caffeine. So I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. Have a good day and go Knicks.